all night long, and even monarchs need naps from time to time. But the Queen was not asleep in her bed or at work at her desk. In fact, the Queen had not yet even seen that bed, nor jumped up and down on it even once. The room stood quite empty and prim and full of anticipation, waiting to be useful. The green wind made his apologies and sailed out into the sunny sky. He swirled down the buttercup and begonia walls of the Briery, past the tea rooms and the coffee rooms and the saucer rooms, to quite another window. This window was round the back, very tall and thin and serious, like a church window, but it offered a far more interesting view than an empty desk and a hurricane lamp at the end of its oil and its wits. The green wind put his green eye to the window and saw several alarming things inside. A broken dodo's egg, along with its dodo, an enormous scrap-yarn wombat, a talking gramophone, a great red wyverary, a marid, a troll, a girl carved out of wood, a red cap, and about 100 people, animals, fairies, and other assorted creatures with the power of frowning and shouting, all drenched in jewels and velvet, all expressing those powers of frowning and shouting just as hard as they could. In the midst of it all stood the Queen, looking as baffled as a goose in calculus class. And so the final dish in Fairyland's tea was a heaping, hideous, unruly platter of shouting, stomping, and rather unskilled fisticuffs. "You shut up!" screeched Hush Now, the ancient and demented Raven Lord, who collected all the bright and shining things from all the worlds and hoarded them in Fairyland before the days of the week had names. Warm sunshine danced through the blooming walls of the Briery's great hall. Light bounced off the Raven Lord's onyx-armored wings. "Emperors do not shut up!" roared Whipstitch, the elegant emperor, who ruled Fairyland with a silken fist 500 years before your grandmother learned to dance. The golden buttons on his peacock glue cloak trembled in fury. "Has anyone got a rowan branch?" trilled Titania sweetly, and I'm sure I needn't tell you who she is. She stared down a certain pale giant by the name of Gratchling Gourdbone Goldmouth, with angry red stitches running all up and down his tattooed skin, and Spalding written on his back in a lovely hand. "It's just the thing for giving jumped-up sporting equipment a good hiding." Goldmouth bellowed rage at the palace hall. "And you I'll have for a coat," Titania purred to Renaud the fox, a king so old the word hadn't been invented when he pounced upon the crown. "What did you say to me?" the fox snarled, his tail puffing up ferociously, the smell of his wrath filling the crowded room. The room was so crowded, in fact, that some kings and queens and duchesses and lords and presidents and empresses and sultans and ancient foxes from before a noun was a noun had begun to spill out into the street. They all wore such fine clothes and finer voices and the very, very finest of tempers that it hurt to look at the great, rude, noisy lot of them all crammed together like a pack of businessmen trapped in an elevator. Everyone who had ever ruled Fairyland, even for the littlest moment, poured into the grand hall of the Briery. More and more came all the time, some still wearing the robes they'd been buried in, others, respectably retired, caught in their dressing gowns, still others, like Renaud and Horace the Overbear, wearing no more than their own good fur. "You're all despicable fools, and if you do not cease your whining, I shall cease your faces," seethed Madame Tanaquil, Prime Minister of Fairyland, and to her mind, the only one in the room with half a right to speak. The buckles and horseshoes and blades of her iron dress clanked against one another. "Please!" cried a girl in a blue dress, wearing a crown of glittering jeweled keys. "Everyone, please be quiet!" We know this girl awfully well, you and I. She was born in May, and she has a mole on her left cheek, and her feet are very large, but no longer ungainly at all. Her name is September. She is 17 years old. She was born in Nebraska. She has not seen her parents in ever so long, and she rather wishes her dress was orange. She is Queen of Fairyland and all her kingdoms. In short, everything was just as you and I left it not so very long ago.